Come on, Ozzy, let's go for a ride. Up, up. Good boy. Back again. Video 2 of this gym expansion. Let's see where we're at. You know, when I first decided to open a gym, the original vision that I had was, it was basically a result of these observations that I've made over the years where it just seemed like, you know, powerlifters think everyone's stupid, bodybuilders hate CrossFit, CrossFitters, you know, do their thing, and strongmen like trained alone in the mountains or whatever. There just seemed to be this like level of vitriol between all these different fitness practices. But the one thing that they all shared in common is, especially those that did it at a higher level, let's say, is they all just wanted to do whatever it took to get better. And they all had certain needs, certain resources, you know, having the right equipment, having the right resources in reference to coaching, you know, creating atmosphere. Those are all things that I think we can make a good argument remain as a very important characteristic of all of them. And I just kind of thought, you know, what if I were to create a facility that had all those necessary resources available? You know, not just necessarily the equipment, but the coaching, the knowledge, and most importantly, the atmosphere, the community, and the culture, where you could get strongmen training alongside powerlifters and bodybuilders and Olympic lifters and even endurance athletes. And just as a result of all of them being in this cohesive environment, they just kind of level each other up. Because I had certain tastes of that when I was going through college, and I would go and train at the college gyms, and I had like a crew there. And then I would go back home, and I used to train at Worlds over in Seekonk every summer, and there'd be crews there. And there'd be crews at different times of the day too. Like if I went in the morning, there'd be a certain crew that I could, you know, hook up with and train with and vibe with, or the afternoons or in the evenings. And I just kind of noticed that aspect of training and exercise for me was just a huge piece of it. And I just thought, you know, what if I could create something like that? And we obviously started off in a really small, probably 3,500, 4,000 square foot training studio. And you guys have heard me talk about it in the past. You know, we were there like 3 years, and I didn't feel like I lacked anything. I had no intention of expanding or growing. I never had any intention of opening it in the first place. But then we kind of ran out of room, and we expanded to where we are now, which is an 8,100 square foot warehouse. And, you know, we're in the process of expanding to 24,000. So what's different? You know, what's going to be different about this new space? You know, how has the vision evolved? And basically, what am I looking to do? You know, what's the point? What's the outcome of this tremendous risk and investment that we're making to relocate the Top Strength Project to an even bigger location? So if you guys checked out the first video, I talked about kind of like the sequence of events that led to this. You know, the original plan, you can link that video below if you want to check it out. But the original plan that I had made and had been working towards realistically for the last 5 years was to expand and take over another 4,700 square feet in my existing building, because I'm very happy here. I have a lot invested in the current space, but I just kind of need some more space to do what I want to do. So the plan was to build a coffee shop first and then expand into the building next door. So throughout the time that we built the coffee shop, during that time the building sold. The new landlord came in, ended up being just completely full of shit, blew a bunch of smoke up, genning up my ass, saying that he wanted to support us, he wanted us to stay, he wanted everyone to stay. He even signed off on a grant that I applied for through the city to subsidize $100,000 of the build out, which I got, which was huge. And he said in that paperwork that he would offer me the space if I were to get the grant, and that all completely fell through. This guy clearly had an agenda, and had intentions of pushing all of us out, jacking the rent way up, because from what I understand, and again, this is all hearsay, but it checks out, it makes sense, that he had a big business in mind that was going to take over the whole space. So he dropped the lease with intent to push us all out. So everything I've been working towards had been pulled from underneath me. So I ended up falling into this opportunity, which big picture is better. It does suck to leave all that behind, trying to tear up that coffee shop that we literally just finished building a year ago. And we didn't build it with intent to tear it up. And yeah, I'm leaving a lot behind, but this is a pretty huge opportunity in reference to the size of the space, but even just the plan for this development down the road, other commercial space, being right on the water, being right next to the Boys and Girls Club, being able to take advantage of the 400 apartments, the residential apartments that are going to be in there. They'll hopefully all use the gym. She's looking to create a bit of a community here, of which she wants the gym to be the center of. So really a huge opportunity. So what are you going to do with the space aside from the obvious, more equipment and more space? Well, my original intention when I expanded to this first location was to be able to do more small group training, be it with local athletic programs, sports teams, or just being able to get or offer training services to individuals at a lower price point. Not everyone necessarily needs or wants to pay for one-on-one training, but what about groups of 2, 3, 5, 7 people with, say, similar goals, relatively similar ability levels, and being able to have the room and the necessary equipment to be able to have all of them train together and be taken through a workout that would include a dynamic warm-up, some plyometrics, a strength portion, a variation lift portion, some hypertrophy, and some conditioning, like a 60 to 90 minute session. The programs can be written and directed and coached. So rather than having to spend $70, $80, $90, $100 a session, you could offer that at a much lower price point. And you can also just schedule it. Let's say if during the week we could offer a 6 a.m., a 9, a noon, a 3, and a 6 p.m. The program's written. Monday would be a certain session, Wednesday would be a certain session, Friday would be a certain session, Saturday would be a certain session. If you can make it, show up at one of those times. There will be a coach there ready to take you through the session. And you can do it with a couple friends. Maybe you can make some new friends and all train together and get very effective, very intelligent, programmed training sessions with direction at a much lower price point than one-on-one. Just think about how awesome that would be for people to be able to take advantage of all the things associated with personal training, being held accountable, having to show up for a perfect time, not necessarily having to think about it, knowing that you're getting the most out of the time you're already investing. A lot of you guys are already coming to the gym 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week for 1 to 3 hours a time. For some of you guys, you're spending 20 plus hours in the gym. What if you were able to go for the same 20 hours but have some direction and be able to actually get more out of every session, every exercise, every rep, actually understand why you're doing what? You guys are already making the biggest investments, which is time. Time is our greatest commodity. So how beneficial would it be to be able to get more out of the time you're already investing? And that was kind of a vision that I had for the first expansion, but I ended up getting a little equipment happy, and I ended up just not really having the room. And this new space will obviously have the room for it. Another thing with this new space is the Group X program. We have a 1,200 square foot room now. It does the job, but particularly with High Rocks classes, since we affiliated, those have just grown and grown and grown. A lot of those classes are at capacity. And there's really only so much Jenny can do in that room for that style of training. You know, being able to have 6 ski ergs, 6 bikes, 6 rowers, having a large turf area. You know, we're gonna have a 60-foot by 15-foot piece of turf in the group room. The room itself, being able to have runs, obstacle courses, we'll have racks and rigs. We have 2 squat racks in the existing group run, but you know, you have 12, 15, 18 people in there. Everyone should have their own rack or close to it. And that's what we'll be able to offer here. You know, High Rocks is just exploding. So being able to take advantage of that in this new space is going to be huge. Additionally, we do a lot of events. We do a lot of competitions in the existing gym. It's one of my favorite parts of doing this, you know. Getting 30, 40, 50 people together for a strongman comp or a powerlifting comp or a super total, all the spectators, vendors. We do 12, 15 plus events a year, but with the current location, we have to close the gym to do that. We won't have to do that here. There's plenty of room, and the way that I have everything laid out, and I'll show you guys when we go in there, we'll be able to have events and competitions, not have to move any equipment and not have to close the doors. So what's that mean? Bigger events, more often, more to offer. And then particularly with Stim, the coffee shop, being able to have actual square footage and room set aside for a cafe, a seating area, couches, TVs, benches, maybe a stage for open mics where we're getting a liquor license. And also being able to offer a full kitchen, have an on-staff chef that makes food every day. Those of you guys that have a hard time with food prep, we can actually offer that here on site now. A lot of you guys know the cake keeper, Erica. She works out of the gym now. She does she's an amazing, she does baking. And Jen's youngest, Charlotte, also has an interest in that. So being able to have an oven and have all the necessary tools and equipment they need to be able to do that on site is something else we're going to be able to offer here, which is very, very exciting. That's enough for now. There's a lot more to talk about. Well, let's go inside. I'm going to show you guys where we're at in the process and kind of go through the updated layout. Follow me. All right, check it out, guys. So here's your parking lot. For now, this will obviously eventually be paved and new, but obviously lots going on in development. But this will be our main entrance. So we'll probably fill this in. We'll get rid of that. Fill this in level. This will be your main entrance. We'll have probably an awning of some kind. Here's the lot. There'll also be another parking lot across the street with a nice walkway coming in the other side. But here this will be your main entrance. Again, this will be brought up to grade, all nice and flat. And here's where you go in. Hey, Ozzy, come on, boy. Get in there, handsome. Right here in between these 2 supports will be the coffee shop. So you'll have a wall here with an entrance door. We're going to be changing software, so because the gym's 24 hours, you'll have to scan to get in. It'll all be through your phone. You'll have an entrance door and an exit door here. This will be where you enter in to the top shop and cafe. So when the top shop closes at 10, this will be blocked off for the 24-hour gym access, but you'll have the Stim coffee bar here on the coffee bar side, and we'll also have a bar on this side to service the gym. So that'll be basically between these 2 support beams, and then as we go to these support beams, we'll have walls to the ceiling. This is where the kitchen will be, so we'll have a range, an oven, flat top, so we can cook and bake here. Down the end, that final space between those 2 supports is where the treatment rooms will be. Either 2 or 3 treatment rooms, either 2 15 by 15 or 3 10 by 15, depending. We'll have a supplement shop, an apparel shop, perhaps a stage there for open mics. We're going to have a liquor license at the gym, so we'll be able to have events, open mics, all kinds of things. Jen has a ton of ideas. Over here will be a bit of a seating area. We picked up some nice leather couches, TV, seating throughout. Up those stairs will be the office. And there's Stim Coffee, Cafe, and the top shelf. So you'll enter into the gym here through those doors that I mentioned. Immediately to the left will be our cardio area. So we'll have a half wall with all the outlets for the machines to plug in. I'm thinking 4 step mills, 4 treads, 2 ellipticals here. Then just on the other side of that will be our selectorized circuit, but you'll have an assisted dip chin, chest, row, shoulder, lat, leg extension, leg curl, bicep curl, tricep extension, glute kickback, adductor, abductor. So a nice circuit right here for general pop. And then here in this area will be the new dumbbell area. So our current dumbbell area is around 20 by 25. So the new dumbbell area will be more like 30 by 25 because we're getting those 110s to 200. So we'll have more dumbbells, more benches, probably that cable crossover here, mirrors on that wall, and mirrors on this wall here for the dumbbells. All right? This area here to the left will be the turf. So we're gonna have a 15-foot wide by 80-foot piece of turf, which should be enough because a lot of your strongman events, it's usually 50, 60-foot carries with a 10-foot end zone on either side, which is really exciting because things like our Conan's wheel, Viking press setup, power stairs, we'll be able to have room to get all that stuff indoors, which is very exciting. It'll all be in this area. All the strongman stuff along the wall, plenty of room, much more organized, everything will have its place. And then as we continue over here, I was telling you guys before about the powerlifting meets and strongman shows. This area here, this little jog, will have 4 combo racks. So 1 more than we have now at the gym, at least 4. Bang, 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 bang. Then right here will be the new stone platform, about 1.5 times the size of the one we have now, up against this wall. Then you have this area here, so we'll have a partition down these supports. There'll be a wall all the way down to the last one. Right here will be your men's locker room. A little bigger than double the size of the one we have now, a lot more lockers, 2 showers, 3 toilets, 2 sinks in each, the men's room and the women's locker room down the end. And in between, right here, will be a 20 by 20 recovery room. Cold plunges, hot tubs, and eventually a walk-in sauna, bigger than the one we have now. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in the sauna, I want to stretch. Heat loosens me up. So I'd love to be able to have some room to be able to lay out and stretch in the sauna, as well as having a seating area along the back. So that'll be sweet in here. And then the remaining area that I didn't mention, basically all this, from that upright to that one, all the way down, is where the majority of the equipment will be coming. As far as what we have, day 1, we're obviously bringing everything over we have now. I have 2 more power racks. The thing you guys always see me training in. We'll have 1 power rack here with a platform, 1 there and 1 there, each with their own platform. So we'll have 3 power racks, each with 2 squat racks and their own platform. And then out here will be all the equipment. Some of the new stuff coming, an amazing hip press, either a Rogers. I'm trying to work a deal out with this one from Australia that looks amazing. Rogers squat, hammer strength, pendulum X, Arsenal hack, Nautilus glute drive, cable stack. That's 1 order. You guys have seen me talk a lot about Mega Mass, so I'm grabbing their row, their press, and their prone linear row. And then they have a 3-in-1 stack I'm getting as well. So that'll be the new equipment that we roll out in the beginning. So the existing group room is 30 by 40, 1,200 square feet. This is 60 by 80, 4,800 square feet. So exactly 4x the size. So you can see those blocked up windows. So we're gonna open those windows up, get some light and some fresh air circulating through here. You'll walk in, about a foot off these support beams will be 60 by 15 feet of turf. So 10 feet in off each wall, you'll have turf 15 wide. That center rig in the gym, there's 6 squat racks. I'm gonna open that up and have that along the wall. So you'll have 6 squat racks along the wall with monkey bars, all your cardio and equipment. You know, basically we have enough room here to set up a full CrossFit box within the gym, and you'll have your own bathroom here as well. So looking to really build upon our existing group program, seminars, workshops, plenty of room in here to do all that. As far as timeline, guys, today is June, help me out, 13th, 14th, 15th, something like that. So we're in the middle of June. Where they're at out there now is they've removed almost 11,000 linear feet of all the old plumbing. So you guys notice in here today compared to the previous video, the ceilings look much more open. That's because we dropped literally almost 11,000 linear feet of old plumbing. So that's just about wrapped up. Right now they're running wires for the electric. This week we're gonna crack the floor, dig a trench along that back wall for all of the locker room fixtures, your toilets, your sinks, and your tubs and showers to plug into there. Once that's cut, we can start building our partitions. There's a little bit of lead paint that needs to be sandblasted and removed before we paint. We're gonna go black ceilings, black walls. Same thing in here, black ceilings, black walls with those lights. But out here we'll have black, 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 black. The locker room wall will be red. So we'll get those partitions built and painted, get this floor cleaned and sealed, and hopefully second week of July, we'll start building the extra coffee shop to get that started. And then second or third week of July should be a good time to lay the turf and start bringing equipment over. So third week of July is when I plan, if everything goes to plan, to move all the equipment here. It should take 2-3 days. The gym should only be shut down for 2 to 3 days to get all the equipment in here, and then we'll start training out of here. And then the final week of July will be when we start to rip up the existing coffee shop to try to transport that monster over here. So that we can be out of our existing space when our lease is up at the end of July. So the gym should only be down for a couple days, 2-3 days. The coffee shop might take a month or so to get back up and running, because there's obviously a lot more to do with that. Plumbing it, all the electric, setting up the kitchen, venting that outside. But we should be in here training, using the new space, third week of July, and hoping to get the coffee shop done mid-August, September 1, the latest. So there's your update. That's where we're at. Things are moving right along. As far as, you know, aside from being bigger, more equipment, more space, you know, something I'm most excited for with this expansion, or another thing that I'm excited for, in addition to everything we've gone over, I understand that my gym isn't really like every other place. It's not like a commercial setting. It's a bit more rough around the edges, you know, a lot of competitive athletes, a lot of the strongest and fittest people in the area do train here, but that doesn't mean that it's not 100% appropriate for anybody. You know, a lot of general pop people come through the gym, be it for classes, be it for training, be it for resources. But something that's really going to set this place apart from our existing location is being able to offer the equipment, the resources, and the space for those that might be a bit intimidated to come in the existing place because of the size and how much goes on in the smaller space. Here, it's much more open. This would be much more appropriate for, say, the general pop person that wants to come in and learn our processes and learn our strategies and just become a part of the community and culture that has kind of been organically created over the last decade. And what is that exactly? You know, when I was in my first place, and I started to entertain the idea of expanding, I kind of had some, maybe not anxiety, but some reservations as far as like, all right, in this space, the small 4,000 square foot space, I really enjoyed it because everybody that was there to get something done, We trained hard there, and it was awesome. And it had just kind of come to fruition over time. It wasn't anything I necessarily intentionally created, but over time, the community and culture of just like-minded people getting together to want to get some work done was something that I really benefited from in that first place. And I had some reservations, if I were to expand from this kind of private personal training studio to a full membership, full service facility, how quickly would that kind of organic community and culture that had been created get watered down? I didn't want to lose that because that was very important to me. But through the process of expanding from 3,000 square feet to 8,000 square feet, I can tell you that really that kind of community and culture has only grown. So being able to take that and 3X it again and be able to have programs and facilities available to those that may be intimidated to come now is something we'll definitely be able to offer in this place. The Top Strength Project is for anyone that really wants to get something done. And over the last decade, particularly the last 3 to 4 years, I'm extremely happy with our staff, the guys and girls that work the floor, the training staff, the Group X staff, Stim staff. We all work together. There's no islands at the Top Strength Project, not between the members, not between the powerlifters, strongmen, bodybuilders, group class, high rocks athletes, general pop. We all work together within the existing walls, and it's going to be the same thing here, but just bigger. So, if you've been kicking the tires and you've kind of been entertaining the idea of trying the gym, I recommend you do. And not necessarily to wait for the new place to open. Come by for a day pass, check it out, see it for yourself. You may be surprised with what you find. Appreciate you guys following along and the support and the excitement. Shit, man. Lots to look forward to. So stay tuned. We'll probably check back in a couple weeks with the next installment of this process. Come by the gym, grab a coffee, come by for a workout or a day pass, because like I said, middle of July, we'll be out of there. So come through, enjoy the existing space while we still have it before moving here, 717 School Street. Thanks, guys.